The fighting in Sudan between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has caused a serious humanitarian crisis. 18 million people in the country face acute hunger. According to global food security experts, 1.7 million people are already enduring emergency levels of hunger in Darfur. The arrival of the first batch of food and nutrition supplies for 250,000 people in Darfur has come as a relief for aid agencies. The World Food Programme is, however, cautious.
Yet we are extremely concerned that unless the people of Sudan receive a constant flow of aid via all possible humanitarian corridors from neighboring countries and across battle lines within Sudan, the country's hunger catastrophe will only worsen.
But securing safe and constant aid access to Darfur has been a challenge for humanitarian agencies.
Fierce fighting, lack of security, and lengthy clearances by the warring parties have led to delays in the distribution of this assistance to people in need. WFP and our partners urgently need security guarantees and deconfliction so supplies in North Darfur can be distributed to people who are struggling to find even one basic meal a day.
The UN agency reported on Friday that 37 trucks carrying 1,300 tons of supplies crossed last week into West Darfur from Adre in Chad. Another 16 trucks with around 580 tons of supplies entered North Darfur from Chad's Tina border crossing over 2 weeks ago. And another 6 trucks with 260 metric tons of food reached the area of Port Sudan a few days later. For the people of Darfur who are bearing the brunt of the current conflict, a return to normalcy remains their only hope, even as they struggle to cope with the devastating humanitarian crisis in the region. Joy Kiruki Juma, CGTN.
Well, Naba Mohideen is joining us now from Port Sudan with more on this development. Naba, the World Food Programme says it has negotiated the delivery of the first 2 convoys of food aid into Sudan's Darfur region in months. What can you tell us about that, and how important is this to those affected by the conflict?
Yes, actually, this first shipment in 6 months or more than 6 months was highly welcomed by the local community, by international and local organizations, and of course by millions of desperate people in that Darfur region. It also represents the first or the reopening of Chad West Darfur route that was closed for months because of the fighting and because of the 2 warring sides not willing to open this route. So it was highly welcomed, and people feel optimistic about the launching of aid delivery to Darfur. The situation in Darfur is really dire, especially in IDBs camps and Zamzam camp, where a child dies every 2 hours. People are stuck with lack of food and fierce clashes and fighting in large parts of Darfur, especially in West Darfur and Northern Darfur. So it was highly welcomed, and we are expecting that it will be distributed. It was not announced, but it will be distributed within the few next days by local and international organizations, because right now the security situation is still unsafe for delivery. So it was welcomed and it was safely delivered to Darfur, but the distribution will take place in the next coming days.
Well, now, but the UN has warned of an impending famine caused by the one-year war and a lack of access to food generally. How bad is the situation, and what is the latest on the fighting?
Actually, the situation is getting worse every day, especially in war zones. Now war zones are covering almost 60% of Sudan's areas, including Al Jazeera state in central Sudan, parts of Wadi Nile states, Khartoum state, the capital itself, all of Darfur states and Kordofani states. So right now the situation is really dire in almost 60% of Sudanese lands. But with this step, with WFP being able to deliver aid for Darfur, people feel more optimistic that the two warring sides may open humanitarian corridors. But the situation is really dire, and millions of people are in danger of acute hunger crisis, and some people in areas in Darfur and in Western Sudan and even in Khartoum are dying because of this starvation. People are desperately need these humanitarian corridors to be reopened, and the two warring parties to adhere to international goals to at least make it safe for aid agencies and aid workers to deliver aid for millions of desperate people in Sudan.